Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Office Hours. I'm your host, Stuart Newsom, and today we have a topic that revolves around some of the most critical aspects of healthcare revenue cycle management. We're going to be talking about accelerating collections, managing aging AR, as well as improving denials management. So, a lot of fun stuff. I know that what you're thinking. But with shrinking margins in healthcare today, it's not just about how much you can collect, but how fast can you collect it, but also how you can also keep it. So we'll be diving into how technology and strategy can be combined to significantly improve your financial outcomes. So I'm real thrilled today to have our guest once again. He's joined us before in the past, Bimal Sahoo. How are you doing, Bimal?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, Stuart.
Oh,
Always lovely to be back into office hours.
yes, yes. Very always pleased to have you here. Bimal's our principal product manager here at Infinix and has extensive expertise in healthcare RCM space, particularly with our solution called AR and denials management. So he's going to share some valuable insights on how organizations can optimize their AR and denial management processes with the goal of increasing cash flow and enhancing some efficiencies in your operations. So we're let's get right into the topic of the day. I just want to give kind of a high level overview of what we're going to discuss, which is really how healthcare organizations can improve their revenue cycle management with a focus on reducing aging AR, denials management, and leveraging the right technology. Notice I said the right technology to speed up those collections. So to give everyone that overview, I'd like to highlight at least three key points. We're going to discuss how healthcare providers can reduce their days in AR and boost revenue cycles by effectively managing aging AR, which will prevent cash flow issues. We're also going to take a deep dive into identifying some root causes of denials and implementing proactive solutions that speed up collections while lowering your cost to collect. And then we're going to explore how advanced reporting and analytic tools can pinpoint issues before they escalate, and how an integrated team supported by the right technology can streamline operations and enhance margins, kind of a tech plus team approach, if you will. So before we dive deeper into these points, I just want to give a quick reminder to everyone that we will have a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to drop your questions in the chat as we go. We'll make sure to address them during the last portion of today's session. So with that, Bimal, I wanted to dive right into our first question, that I wanted to ask you which has to do with shrinking margins in healthcare, and as regulations accumulate abundantly, and it's just cost more to practice medicine these days. Why is the speed of collections becoming as critical as the amount collected?
Yeah, no, it's actually very great that we are actually highlighting and acknowledging the fact that in today's world, the margins for most healthcare organizations are dropping. And one of the key reasons behind them is the cash flow and the liquidity issues. And they're actually very important from a viability and a sustainability, standpoint. So organizations typically would rely heavily on these timely cash inflows so that they can cover the expenses, be it like staffing, equipment, services, medical supplies. So it's just not all about like how much more can you collect from your revenue cycle and for the services that you rendered, but also how fast can you collect? Because the slower collections can really create these cash flow gaps for which if you were to kind of fund, then it can force organizations to seek some other costly financing options to maintain their operations. So it's critically important to realize that there is always a cost of cash and there is a cost to delayed collections. Currently in our environment, as we're seeing interest rates being 5% more for commercial borrowings for funding the operational capital, the impact is all the more affecting the financial health of organizations. So more AR and more higher number of days in AR means that you need more follow-up efforts to collect that cash. And it also means that you are now hampered with administrative costs of resubmitting claims, uh, sending those appeals out, contacting those patients that are already now eating into your margins. right? So it's pretty important right now to kind of acknowledge that fact and drive actions towards it. Now, from a patient collections perspective or a patient responsibility perspective, we've seen that there's a huge uptake in high deductible plans. And because of these high deductible plans, the cash flow inevitably has become slower. There's not much you can do about it along with, for the time that if it is not collected on time, the patients are very less willing to even pay or turn those older patient AR account into bad debts. So hence constant and communication to the patients, along with upfront time of service collections and getting them enrolled onto payment plans. Those are some of the strategies that you can do to get paid for the services and on time. But apart from that, what's also has become relevant is that the denial rates have gone up. There is also significant delay in the payments from the insurances. The insurance payment delays and the denials directly ties your resources, and it ties your resources much more, leading to lower reimbursements and cash flow gaps. So that if these claims are not addressed in an effectively and timely manner, then you are losing out on receiving that cash on time, and therefore incurring a lot of funding expenses to fund your operations. Now, payers have timelines for the claim submissions and appeals. And if those deadlines are also not met and the claims are not overturned on time, then the providers will always suffer from this inability to collect the full amount for the services that they have rendered. So these are some of these challenges that we definitely see, and therefore the speed of collections matters equally or sometimes even more than the amount of money that you are envisaging to collect.
Right, exactly. And you've already touched on the fact that denials management is a major pain point for many healthcare providers, and those denials are a result of various situations that occur throughout the revenue cycle. And one key point there is that I want you to touch on as well with the insights you've already given is, can you walk us through some of the strategies to identify and address the root causes? How do you drill down to find out, okay, well, what is this root cause of this denial before they even have a chance to impact the revenue cycle?
Sure. So I think when it comes to denials, there are two aspects to it. One is how do you recover from your existing denials? That's one, which is generally a part of your AR and denial recovery team or the denial management team. But one other key objective of denial management is to prevent those denials from happening in subsequently, right? So you should not be seeing repeated denials. You should be able to fix the flaws in your upstream cycles, be it optimizing for your front end cycles around patient access or mid office cycles, including billing, coding, and ensuring that those kind of denials are not happening because of these reasons. So that's critically important to not have denials first of all in the cycle of your collections. So therefore, what I would suggest is to have a control or a strong hold on your denials and to learn what the denials are speaking about. And the best way to actually do that is to look at the car crack codes that you're getting in your 835s and in your reimbursement data, in your explanation of your benefits, and to be able to then apply interpretation rules on top of it. Because what happens is when you get a 835, you could get a combination of car crack codes, which only the experts are able to kind of disseminate that information and understand what exactly that denial is about, and then are taking actions. But from a strategy perspective, what are we learning from those kind of denials happening? How do we kind of interpret those denials? And to do that, I think there's a way to combine the different car crack codes together and put a hierarchy on certain car crack codes that if you receive a string of such car codes, then it kind of this particular car code that is kind of standing up, and this is what is the main reason behind this denial. And once you've kind of identified that through technology, you can obviously group them into certain actionable denials, non-actionable denials, technical denials, non-technical denials, and kind of better interpret what kind of trends or patterns we are seeing in the reimbursement data. And all of these have to be in real time. We cannot be looking or relying on month-end reports or the month-end denial reports out of the practice management systems. This really needs to be pushed through technology to give better analytics that can then give you more insights about these denials happening by payers, by facilities, by specialities, by procedures, CPTs, which then can aid you to do root cause analysis. Without having this level of granularity and data aggregation, it's pretty difficult to put a denial prevention strategy in place, because you might be focused on looking at, hey, these are the 5 claims I just saw that are having these commonality of denials, but it could have had a much bigger impact in your revenue cycle when you collate all this data together. So this is what I would suggest as like one of the key strategies. I mean, organizations that have been successful in implementing denial management to the core extreme in reducing denials in the future have been very good at analyzing this denial from a wholesome perspective, aggregating that data together, and automating these insights out so that on a week-to-week trend or on even on a daily trend, you can see what are the new kind of denials and the patterns that we are kind of getting, and be able be nimble and be fast to react to those, so that you're much more proactive in making those decisions and process changes such that such denials do not happen in the future.
Right, right. And it's also about speed, about that contributes to that speed that you were talking about earlier. Because if you have to wait for a month-end report, that's too late. I mean, this is where
It's
it's
absolutely too late.
instantaneous. Yep, the data's there at your fingertips. It's very responsive. You can run these reports based on real time, and be able to make those decisions real time. That's very key. And in speaking of time, we're talking about aging, particularly AR aging. We all know that can be a significant drag on cash flow. What are some of the best practices for managing aging in the AR? It's kind of a tried and true issue that people have that eventually is going to become a write-off if you don't really take care of it, following the steps that you've already stated. But when it gets to that point, how managing, aging AR to prevent it from becoming a cash flow issue.
Sure. So I think there are many aspects to managing AR, right from data perspective to analytics perspective and insights perspective, to then followed up with technology and sophistication on how you work those AR effectively, followed by automation capabilities, and then further down measuring the performance of how you work down your AR. So there are many aspects to effectively manage it. Now I'll start off with just the data portion of it, right? So when you are looking at the data and you're trying to analyze your AR, how much of a stronghold do you have in being able to dissect that AR to the granular details, to taking tactical or strategic methods to work down that AR, right? So when you look at AR, you look at that AR by aging, and most just look at that aging from a service date perspective. But from an operational perspective, just looking those from a service date aging is not enough. You should be looking at that AR from multiple angles, not just from the service date perspective, but also the aging from a last denial perspective, as well as aging from, let's say, the last claim submission perspective. So these two would additionally give you a flavor of what's kind of actionable AR that is remaining out of the entire AR. and how do you kind of strategize working that AR down? So to start off with, that's what I would suggest. But more importantly, once you kind of get a hold of your aging and your trial balance sheets, the next step would be to also monitor how is this AR growing or reducing by different payers, by facilities, by your denials, and then also monitoring these on a day-to-day, and if not day-to-day, at least on a weekly basis. Waiting for the month-end AR reports is not going to help you work down that AR faster.
That's right.
That's more from a analytics and monitoring perspective. But what is also important to have is a complete and a comprehensive overview of your entire AR. When I mention that, I am not just mentioning your aging from just from the aging perspective or from the payer perspective, but how do you blend in the denial information onto that AR? How do you blend in the operational work that has been done on that AR, letting you know that something has already been worked, something is already been in flight, or something has already been appealed. So we need to be able to make decisions when do we work that particular area. Now, all of this is pretty easy to kind of say, but to put that into action, you really need some technology solutions to help you with. And there are advanced AI and machine learning technologies that can help you at least tell that, hey, if a particular claim is recoverable or not. And this is something that we in Infinix have used across most of our clients. This is a feature that we have, which is a recovery prediction feature, which constantly evaluates all your different claims out, which are outstanding in your AR, and evaluates that particular AR from multiple different factors perspective, looking at its payer, looking at the kind of procedures or CPTs, when was the last denial, what kind of payer or their adjudication status is on that currently, how much has already been paid, and many factors that then determine whether this claim is going to be recoverable or not, and what's the probability to recover out of it, and what kind of efforts is needed to recover out of it. There is no point working on AR or working on claims that are not going to turn into cash. So rather than wasting your efforts on something uh, just because we have to work down the entire AR is not a smart strategy. The smartest
Right.
strategy is to be able to deploy technology, AI, machine learning, to help you and guide you to pinpoint that these are the right set of claims that are going to give us that cash flow faster, and therefore reduce our days in AR and work down on AR so that we have complete control over it and make it current.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. So then now you're being intentional and targeting, and it can only
Yeah.
be done through machine learning, AI, using those processes to help prioritize what needs to be worked.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
very critical, very critical. So it's always good to go in with intent and purpose rather than just, oh, here's a list. I'm just going to start working this from which ones are the most expensive, higher dollar amounts, and which ones are going to expire quicker from timely filing issues. Those factors are still should be considered. However, it's best to be more intentional and more targeted, and the technology will help enable that. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, great. So that you brought those topics up. So prioritizing those claims are pretty important. So we just talked about, hey, we know and we understand that these claims are recoverable, but how do we prioritize that, and how do we distribute, and how do we decide when to work them? So when you come across the entire AR, you see hundreds and thousands of claims that are outstanding, and probably in tens of thousands actually for some providers. So how do you pick like which claims should be worked today, tomorrow, and day after? And this is where sophisticated prioritization techniques come into play. So we have worked very closely with many of our clients in developing one of the most sophisticated prioritization techniques, which takes into account just not the balance amounts, but more importantly, what is the recoverability of this claim, what's the effort needed to kind of work this particular claim, what the timely filing limits are, uh, what is the probability of getting this overturned, and then be able to decide that which set of claims should best be prioritized today for the operations team so that it recovers the maximum cash. That's number one. Number two, and more importantly, is like how it can drive cash flow faster. So you get that cash quicker. And then at the same time, reducing your bad debts and ensuring nothing falls through the timely filing and the timely appeal windows. So these are some of the strategies that we have seen becoming very successful in the organizations for which we serve as part of Infinix. And then taking that step forward, when the AR gets worked, how can we help in the process of automating certain of those steps? One of the steps actually is the claim status check automation. And then what it actually does is helps you get those adjudication details on that particular claim much ahead in time before the agent is even working that claim. So when the agent is actually going and working on a particular claim, they are already fed with this information. What is the latest status on the claim? Has it already been paid? It's already in flight, it is pending, or it's been denied. So then they do not have to spend 5 to 10 minutes following up with that on that claim with the payer and getting that information. So it is reducing the time to actually action on that particular claim. And therefore, we've seen a higher amount of productivity, and we can see that the teams are able to work 15 to 20% more claims than they were able to work before. And as a result, it directly impacts the burn down of your AR, and your AR kind of reduces. So we've seen around a reduction to 3 to 4 days in AR for many of our clients by implementing claim status check automation into their workflows. The other part is like how do you blend it within these workflows and be smarter about the responses that you get from the claim status checks as well. There could be scenarios where earlier in the defined standard operating procedures, agent would actually go retrieve the claim status from the payer, either by phone call or checking into a website or a payer portal, clearinghouse portals. But once they receive that, they're documenting that, hey, this is in flight or this has already been paid. So some of our smarter clients, what they have done is remove those steps from their standard operating procedures so that once we have received a paid scenario or a pending scenario, those automatically are removed from the queues for a certain period in time. And if until that the adjudication either happens or the payment posting against those happen, so that they automatically go out of the AR without human touches.
Nice. Very
Right?
nice.
So that's the benefit, both in terms of reduction in days in AR, reducing the aging, as well as reducing your cost to collect and improve productivity. These are some of the benefits that we're already seeing.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And you mentioned, integration, technology, and we had touched on this. One of the things that we were going to cover was integrating that technology with a well-coordinated and also trained team. Seems to be the way to go. So could you share some additional insights on how to achieve this integration effectively? And what I mean by integration is that, tech plus team approach and what role each plays in optimizing the revenue cycle.
Absolutely. So one common theme, I think, across most financially successful organizations is that they have a great control over the technology that they're deploying, as well as there's a top-down approach from the leadership to get those technology solutions adopted amongst the entire teams to take the best benefit out of it, right? to achieve that, they have actually invested in several process changes as well. It's not like the technology has to exactly fit into the existing processes, but it is more about, now that we have technology, how can we best tune our processes around it, or blend the technology into the processes, howsoever creating a better circle of more optimized processes with technology that delivers value for the entire revenue cycle. So that has been one of the key themes, right? And as I mentioned earlier, they're investing in ensuring that there are proper integrations with the different systems between the clearing houses, within the practice management system, between additional advanced revenue cycle management solutions, which are on top of practice management solutions that can make your revenue cycle efficient. And then they're looking for capabilities such as, does it help me analyze my AR better? Does it give me the cognitive intelligence to understand the impact of my AR and help me drive decisions that gets me that control over my AR, reduces my AR number of days, reduces my aging across AR over 90, 120, 180, right? So how does the solution kind of give those kind of decision-making power? And then along with that, blending in automations and seeing that where can these fit into my existing processes, or how can I make my processes around these automations to derive the maximum value out of it.
Awesome, awesome. So it really is to augment the team, not necessarily replace the team, but help the team work more efficiently, and work on those more complex cases where some automation may benefit, to get that done quicker. And it's all about increased cash flow, getting it done, the process done much, much faster. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So now, as we end the session, we're going to move into the Q&A period. So again, just want to remind everyone that if you do have a question, please fill it into the Q&A portion of Zoom there at the bottom. And as looking at this, we do have one question here, Bimal, that basically states here that you've mentioned case studies and real world applications as part of this episode. Could you share a specific example where managing aging AR and denial rates has significantly improved financial outcomes for a healthcare organization?
Yeah, no, I actually have several examples. Picking one is very difficult for me right now, but I'll give a couple of examples, right? So we've seen one of the national leaders in radiology who was facing a lot of challenges with their aged AR, and typically it was all about AR over 90, AR over 120. They were 40% to 50% of the entire AR. And some of the reasons behind that are the front-end processes and the billing and coding related processes. But how do we kind of get to the strategy about working down this AR, or how do we prevent such AR to kind of swell up? So one strategy that they applied, working with us and using our ARDM solution, the AR and denial management solution, was to include the kind of AR and denial analytics features and get that adopted across the revenue cycle leaders. So they're in constant monitoring and getting insights about their AR. How is my AR by each individual payer increasing on a week-to-week basis? How are my denials by different payers changing from one period to the other? And are we seeing increase or decrease in certain kind of AR? And from AR and denials. And then from those denials, how do we identify what kind of denials and what kind of process changes needs to be undertaken, be it from the front-end processes, patient data capture, upfront collections, authorizations, documentations, or be it like further optimizing the mid-office, which is about coding, billing, and how the claims go out of the door. So we've seen them adopting these solutions out that reduce their denial rates from over like 12 to 15%, which is what the trends were, down back to 8 to 9% range over 6
Oh,
months.
wow. Mhm.
Um, and when it came to kind of AR, actually making these changes automatically reduced AR, right? So if you reduce your denials, you wouldn't have as much of AR.
Right.
So parallelly, what they did was also have a AR breakdown strategy, AR walkdown strategy, where they broke that AR down with the help of ARDM, understanding that these are the recoverable claims. So therefore, these need to be high priority, and then using our sophisticated prioritization techniques, which includes looking for the timely filing limits and prioritizing according to the team's capacity, what should we work today, tomorrow, and day after, like on a day-to-day basis. It was completely evaluated, and we've seen some successful results in seeing that the AR over 90 reduced from 36, 37%, if I remember that correctly, down to less than 25%,
Mhm.
which is
Nice.
phenomenal when it comes to radiology. Similarly, I have another example where another client was actually suffering majorly from cash flow issues, and there were teams that were working on the entire aging AR, but they were very slow in kind of being able to touch and work through all of them. So when we deployed the claim status check feature for them using our solution, what it helped them was to follow up on all the unresponded AR automatically. So it's just not about like assisting the humans or aiding the humans, but also think from a point that humans can only do a follow-up of, let's say, 1,000 claims a day or of 1,500 claims a day. But
Mhm.
with automation, you don't have those limits. We
Right.
have as much of integrations and a robotic process automation to scrap or get those details about the claim adjudication all at once. And that further help to prioritize which claims need a follow-up, which do not require anything and just need a bit of time for the payment posting or further adjudication to take place. And also they got denial information much more ahead in time rather than waiting for the payment posting to happen. So
Mhm.
all of that helped them reduce their total AR by about 15 to 20%. We saw a reduction in their days in AR by over 6 days, down from like 48 to 42
Wow. Yeah.
to 42. And then their AR over 90 and 120, they kind of shrunk by at least 5 to 10%.
Mhm. Wow, that's astonishing. And it's actually a combination of everything. It's not like one magic pill or magic wand. It really is take, the technology, also some human effort, but it makes a big difference when you combine all of these together, all these strategies that you've mentioned together, in combination that really contributes to the numbers that you just told. I mean, going from 48 to 6 days is absolutely amazing. And by default, it's your AR is going to reduce. You won't have as much aging, and it's going to
Yeah.
reduce write-offs. It's going to reduce bad debt. It's going to reduce your not just your cash flow, but that is your cash flow. I mean, can you imagine how significant your cash flow is going to increase by taking these strategies? So excellent insight, Bimal. So yeah, I don't see any other questions. And so that'll conclude today's episode of Office Hours. Really appreciate you, Bimal, always coming on board. He'll be back again. I promise everyone he'll be back again, because there's more. There's so much more to discuss on this, as denials and just continue to plague the health of our revenue in healthcare. So until next time, please join us next week for another episode of Office Hours. I hope to see you there. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.